Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look at installing the Westin E-Series round Nerf bars on a 2021 GMC Sierra. Now this is available in two different colors. Here we have our black, and it's also available in polished stainless steel. Now this is what they look like when they're installed, and this black finish looks really good against this black truck. It gives it a nice clean look. And even our little pads here that you step on, these are a plastic, which they are actually a polymer plastic, so they're gonna hold up to any UV or any corrosion or cracking long term, so you don't have to worry about these getting chalky over time. And the great part, there's not any holes here on the bar, so you don't have to worry about water getting in there and rusting it out over time. The design of the no-slip pad here is also more than meets the eyes, because underneath, the way that it attaches to this bar is not just a cutout that this snaps into, it's a recessed portion of tubing, which again kind of goes to the point of there's no holes on here, so there's no way for water to get in and corrode it from the outside in. And also for structural rigidity's sake, this isn't going to be a hollow portion and all open. This is completely solid all the way through. And the great part, and honestly the main reason you get Nerf bars, not only for the look, is the fact that you can easily get into the vehicle. So if maybe you have not exactly the tallest stature, or you're getting a little bit older, or the main thing that people have these for is going to be for kids. A lot of trucks these days are going to be a four-door, and for the kiddos to hop in the back sometimes means they have to hop. Well, giving them that little extra step is going to make it a lot easier, and hopefully take it away from you having to help them into the truck. This is custom fit to your truck, and that way you can use brackets that are designed for it, and that means there's no drilling required and there's no cutting. It simply bolts up to your body mounts, and you get your brackets attached to your Nerf bar and you're pretty well good to go. And as far as installation goes, you can probably get this done in, I would say, even less than an hour in your driveway or garage with minimal hand tools. So speaking of that installation, let's take a look at that and get yours installed. First thing you're going to want to do is kind of lay everything out. So there's going to be 3 brackets per side, and each side rail actually has a specific side. It's actually labeled on the packaging, so that's pretty nice. You can lay that out. Main thing is obviously making sure these steps here are going to face the correct way. We have our front bracket. It's going to look like this. Our middle bracket will look like this. And then our rear bracket is going to be this long one here. We're going to grab a 13/16 socket, and we're going to go to our front body mount, and you'll see this large bolt head. You also have this large washer. We'll go ahead and get this taken out. And there is factory thread lock on these, so you might have to get something with a little bit of leverage to get it started, and then once you kind of start moving it, it's not too bad. Now it's a pretty long bolt, so just kind of keep going at it. And then once we have that out, we're going to take our washer off, and our bracket is going to have this flat part facing out, and this smaller slotted hole is going to be the one that goes up. So make sure you have your washer placed back between our bracket and that body mount before taking your factory bolt that we just took out and getting it started. Now I'm going to go ahead and get it kind of snug, but we still want to have a little bit of movement. It's going to make it a lot easier when lining up our Nerf bars to make sure that it's all squared up. So you don't have to crank this down. We'll come back with a torque wrench later. So now we can move down to our center one, and we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be the same size socket, so go ahead and get that bolt taken out. So same thing, make sure you're putting your washer back here, and this is going to kind of just sit at this angle. So make sure you have that set up right there. And then we'll get this back up, and then just tighten down, but again, keeping it nice and at least able to be moved. So not only just because to get this aligned with the holes, but also there is a slot in all of these, so we'll be able to adjust how far out the Nerf bars stick out, and we're going to want to make sure that they're all nice and level with all the mounts. And our rear mount is going to be exactly the same. You will probably need an extension here, as it does sit up a little bit higher than the others. But we'll go ahead and get this one taken out. Our rear mount is going to go in the same orientation that we did on our front, so the flat side should be facing towards the outside of the vehicle. Now at this point, we're going to be mounting this up, and it's got a threaded plate here with threads in it, and we're going to be using our large bolt with a split washer and flat washer, and that's going to feed through our bracket. And I've put a cardboard box on the other end to kind of support it. That way it's not getting scratched while we do this. But we'll go ahead and I'm going to get this just a few threads in, just enough to where it's still kind of just supporting it, but also it's not going to damage that welded on thread nut, because we want to slide this over the center support. And if we bolt up the other end, it could scratch it. So I'm going to go ahead on the other end and kind of get this in place. And then we could get this one started as well. Now you're going to want to take your hex head button bolt here. We also have our toothed washer that we have on there. So slide that on, and then we have a flat washer. And we're going to go ahead and kind of get this aligned. So this is why we left this loose. It's going to allow some of that adjustability. So it's pretty tight here to where it's not going to want to align. But since my bracket is still not completely tightened up, I can kind of move this back, allowing it to align those holes. In the kit, they also include this Allen key. So I want to get these snug, again, just about as tight as we had our brackets, because what we're going to do is we're going to cinch it up. The bolts that we just fed into the side, we're going to tighten those first, and that way we know it's squared up against the brackets, and then we can adjust those brackets out as necessary. And to get these tightened, we're going to be using a 19mm socket. So go ahead and get that on there. And again, just kind of checking the way that the tube sits flat against that bracket. As you tighten it, it should get pretty close, but make sure that it's nice and square, and you may kind of want to support this if you need to. But we'll go ahead and tighten it down, and again, no need to get crazy here, just want it snug. Go ahead and do that to the other side as well. So we do have a little bit of adjustability, so I can, because those brackets are still loose, you can see it kind of can go side to side. So figure out what works best for you. If you want it to stick out all the way, you can do that. Just make sure it's nice and parallel with the body. Once you're happy with that, we can go ahead and snug down those body bolts. So now coming back with my torque wrench, I'm using the torque settings found in the instruction manual, and the body mounts as well as the bolts that go onto the Nerf bar as well as the hex head button bolt are all going to be different torque settings, so adjust your torque wrench accordingly. So now I'll go through and get the rest of my body bolts torqued down to that same spec. Now we'll go ahead and do the bolts that go into the Nerf bar from our brackets. And then finally we'll go ahead and get our button head here in that center. And with that, we have one side done. All that's left to do is the other side, and it's going to be exactly the same. And that was a look at installation of the Westin E-Series round Nerf bars on a 2021 GMC Sierra.